Maddox. I'm your biggest fan.
For over 20 years, I've run one of the longest-running humor sites on the internet. I've published books, worked on TV shows, and even video games. Along the way, I've met thousands of fans. Most of them have been awesome, but some, unfortunately, have become obsessed and tried to get into my personal life. This is the story of what happens when fans become stalkers.
Maddox and that.
So you're probably wondering what's going to happen next. Well, the stalker has been trying to get my attention for over half a decade, and I've been ignoring him. So the fact that I made this video is going to be the pinnacle of his life. He's going to talk about it forever. He'll go on for weeks, months, and years to come, feverishly poring over every second of this video in excruciating detail. He will try to find any problem he can, no matter how small, and exaggerate it to try to discredit this entire video. But there's too much here, and I've provided receipts for everything. You don't have to like my books, my videos, or even me, but the evidence in this video speaks for itself. I've been smeared for over half a decade, and now you know the truth of what's been going on. This stalker will never be able to stop talking about me. This is all he has.
Maddox.
It's been over 5 years, and he still hasn't stopped reliving his glory days with me. He will also try to paint himself as a victim because it's easier to make money when you victimize yourself, and he's an expert at being a victim. He gets himself banned from bars, websites, comedy clubs, banks, and even credit card companies, but he's never responsible. Anything bad that happens to him is because he's the poor victim. Next, he will probably try to sue me, just like he tried when I released my short 3.5-minute video, and just like he actually did when I tried to stop him from using my IP without my permission. It doesn't matter if he loses in court because he'll use the suit for content because he has nothing else. He has no brand, nothing to talk about, and no identity other than his past association with me. From his failed book treatment, to the comedy theater where I vouched for him, to his manager, to his podcast where he obsesses over me. He wouldn't even be able to get laid without me. He's literally dating one of my exes. He wakes up and goes to sleep next to a reminder of me every single day. And I'm not exaggerating. He even made a website where he sold overpriced coffee, and you might be thinking, what does a coffee website have to do with me? Well, for some reason, he even referenced me on this coffee website. It didn't even occur to me just how bad things had gotten until one of my fans sent me this picture of him wearing one of my t-shirts that he bought from my online store the moment it was listed. I posted it around 7:40 p.m. and he bought it just a few hours later, around midnight, even before I received a copy of my own. So you may be wondering, why am I making this video now? Well, for one, because it's been over half a decade and the stalking still hasn't stopped. Now, you might be thinking, oh, but Maddox, aren't you just as obsessed for making this video? No. This stalker literally had a doll made of me, and I shudder to think what he does with this doll. Because when you have a lunatic buying guns to use against you, following you around, and encouraging others to harass you, you don't have a choice but to document it for your own protection and legal reasons. If this stalker were merely obsessed with me, that would be one thing. 2 of the stalkers I mentioned at the start of this video are still active, but relatively harmless. But unlike the other stalkers, this one is actively harassing my friends, colleagues, and acquaintances, and anyone associated with me in an attempt to get them to cut ties and to hurt me financially. Literally, as I was working on this part of the video, this stalker personally went to my website again and harassed one of the people on my network again. Then roughly a week after that, he harassed another person on my podcast network, this time on Twitter. And then he contacted a third friend of mine after he saw us in a video together. And then he contacted me again, personally this time, on Twitch. And this is on top of all the comments he personally spammed on my website and YouTube channels. It's been over half a decade and he's still tracking everything I do. And lately he's even been obsessing over my LinkedIn page. I don't think he'll stop until he's put in jail. So part of the reason I'm making this video now is because someone watching might know how to help, or knows someone who's an expert in stalking and harassment law. If you or someone you know can help and you don't wear blackface, please contact me. There's a laundry list of criminal charges that still haven't been heard in court. And I know I'm not the only one because several of his ex-girlfriends have contacted me and confided that he has stalked and harassed them too. Those aren't my stories to tell, but I know there's more out there. So another reason I'm going public now is to encourage more people to come forward if they have any more information. The other reason is to call out social media companies that profit from it. Companies like Reddit and Facebook have made it easy to stalk and harass people at scale, and they don't care because it drives engagement, and engagement drives profit. Take, for example, Reddit. I've reported numerous instances of doxing, coordinated attacks, and fraud. Even as I record this video, my old home address is still posted on the Stalkers subreddit. Reddit admins apparently don't give a shit. I've made countless reports and they'll delete a post or two, but the subreddit remains active where it keeps happening, and the people who are doing it are allowed to keep their accounts. How many times does Reddit tolerate doxing before a subreddit is permanently shut down? I've reported at least a half dozen instances, and those were just instances that I was made aware of. I'm sure there's more that I've missed. And what makes this bullshit even more egregious is that Reddit is making a fortune selling ads alongside this content. For example, Home Depot runs ads on Reddit along with hundreds of other brands that probably weren't aware that their businesses were promoting this bullshit. Reddit has been made aware of the constant doxing, raids, and threats coming from this subreddit, but they've done nothing to stop it. Apparently, Reddit doesn't care about the quality of traffic, so long as they can sell it. And if they don't look too closely, they can claim ignorance until another rag like the Wall Street Journal comes along and does an expose on them. And Twitter is just as bad. This stalker has had his account suspended at least 6 times for abusing their terms of service, yet Twitter keeps allowing him to create new accounts. This type of obsessive behavior and stalking isn't free speech. It's done to silence others by inundating them with spam so it becomes impossible to respond. It overwhelms people's ability to communicate and actually has a chilling effect on speech. If someone needs to get through to you but you can't be reached because you're being spammed by an obsessed stalker, that could have real-world consequences. Twitter has made it easy to do this at scale so it becomes impossible to communicate in any meaningful way. Even Joe Rogan has called this behavior targeted harassment.
But you can't detonate someone, but you can call them stupid.
Generally, I mean, if you created an account that only was there to call the same person stupid 5,000 times, we'd probably view that as
targeted harassment.
Targeted harassment.
Right.
It's a function of behavior, because people with our system can do this in massive velocity,
So
which would ultimately silence you from the platform, or just say, like, I give up, I don't want to deal with this thing, I'm out.
But I can't conclude this video without mentioning one very special person who's profited more than anyone from the smear campaign next to the stalker himself. I hinted at who this person was at the start of this video, and the smear campaign truly couldn't be possible without him. And the name of that person is Jack Conte. The reason Jack Conte is responsible is because Jack is the CEO of Patreon, the company that the stalker uses to monetize this smear campaign. No other person or company in the world other than Fanboy himself has profited more off this stalking and hate. But what's especially egregious about Jack is his mind-blowing hypocrisy. In public, Jack fashions himself as a good boy liberal who cares about social causes. But in private, he and his company have made a handy little profit off the smear campaign. When it became clear that there was a financial motive for this stalker to continue his smear campaign, I thought it might stop if Patreon was made aware. And again, I want to emphasize that I only contacted them after months of its continued escalation. But to my surprise, good boy Jack and his company that prides itself on being champions of progressive causes turned a blind eye to this dirty little secret. They repeatedly deferred to their trust and safety team, who let it continue to happen. Even after I showed them mountains of screenshots and evidence, and even video evidence of the doxing, stalking, and coordinated attacks all coming from the stalker, they ignored all of it. Which is bizarre because they've banned other creators for much less. And to date, I've personally contacted Patreon's trust and safety team at least 6 times with the evidence shown in this video. But that didn't work. I tried contacting Jack Conte directly. That didn't work. And as a last resort, I even tried suing Patreon, and that didn't work either. So, I must conclude that Patreon and Jack Conte himself are fine with this behavior on their platform. If these are the rules they want to play by, then I just have a few questions for Jack. First of all, how many times can me or my followers post someone's home address or talk about specific details about where they live before my account gets suspended? Is it 5? 10? Because I know it's not 0. And on a related note, can I dox their sponsors too, or just the people I'm stalking? Second question, how many times can I incite a hate mob to make death threats against someone's partner? Because I know that's not 0 either. Third, when it comes to rewarding my followers for making rape threats using my Patreon funds, can I give out stickers, or do I also have to give out t-shirts too? And what about 8chan, Jack? Do you have a problem with 8chan? What if I created a Patreon-funded website, and then I linked directly to 8chan, driving my followers to the forum where they doxed and made threats against people I don't like? Would that be a problem, Jack?
Why was 8chan removed from Patreon?
They were allowing like the distribution of child pornography on their servers. That's it.
Oh, I see. So if I direct my fans to a website where they post child porn, that would be bad, right?
Not okay. I mean, actually, yeah, that's illegal and against our content policy.
Because I clearly see a link to 8chan on this Patreon-funded website. So is it okay to link to 8chan where they post child porn as long as I don't post it? Nice branding though, Jack. You can even see the Patreon logo on this website next to 8chan. Oh, and speaking of child porn, Jack, are you okay with creators promoting someone who admits to being sexually aroused by illustrations of children having sex? Do you think that illustrated child porn is okay, Jack? If you or someone you know is able to get Jack to answer any of these questions, please send it to me. And just as a bonus follow-up question, Jack, I'm curious what you think about this t-shirt idea posted by the stalker that you support on your network. I'm guessing that your size is medium, and I think this shirt would look good on you. Since Patreon, Jack, and the entire Trust and Safety team are okay with this type of content, that's fine. Just own it. Make this Patreon's official t-shirt. After all, when I reported it to you, you and your team didn't give a shit. So own it, you phony fuck. Tell the world exactly how you make your money. In fact, you should tell your investors too. Let them know what you stand for, because if you don't, I will. Please help me spread the word, because I think I owe Jack some free promotion and publicity for all the non-stop attention he's given me for over half a decade. And remember, anything the stalker has done to me is apparently fair game to Jack, because he and his company don't seem to have a problem with it. This is what you wanted, Jack. This is the world you created. Live in it. As for the lawsuit, I've never wanted to sue anyone in my entire life. My entire career up to this point has been free of any lawsuits for over 20 years. All I want to do is create content that might make people laugh or think. I've produced thousands of hours of content with hundreds of pages of writing and hours of videos and podcasts, all for free because I enjoy it. I've always been an independent creator, and I've rarely asked my fans for anything. If you've ever enjoyed any of my content, all I ask is for your support however you can help. Even if it's just leaving a review of one of my books, sharing this video, or reporting these types of attacks from the stalker and his hate mob on any platform you see them. We shouldn't have to live in a world where someone can stalk you until you have to respond. And the scary thing is how easily it could happen to you. People join mobs without thinking. Gustave Le Bon wrote about this phenomenon in his book. He said that when people join mobs, they lose fear of social consequences because they think mobs are anonymous. Except not this time, because these dipshits have fucked with the wrong person. I have all the names of the people involved in the smear campaign. All of them. Many have already apologized and stopped this behavior, but many more will be exposed as time goes on. In fact, because the stalker and his mob want my attention so badly, I've officially converted the front page of my old podcast website into free promotion for Fanboy and his hate mob, where you'll find much more of Fanboy's embarrassing poetry. You guys like fucking around? Well, I hope you like finding out just as much, because many of you are about to. Enjoy, dipshits! Next time you want to dogpile on someone, stop and ask yourself if you really have all the evidence to make an informed decision. You probably don't. You know a lot less about people than you think you do. Even the people you think you know. I want to get back to making regular content, and part of the reason I haven't had time to do that is because I've been dealing with this tedious bullshit. I just want to get back to writing and making fun of children and animals. I'll be releasing more content in the coming months, so if you want to stay up to date, sign up for my mailing list where I'll be sending updates, or follow me. And if you think you can help in any way, please send me an email. And speaking of help, I can't thank my fans enough for collecting the mountains of evidence you've seen in this video. You know who you are, and you have my sincere gratitude. And finally, I'd like to give an extra special thanks to all my Patreon people who've made this possible, especially to Jack Conte. I really mean this from the bottom of my heart, Jack. I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you for ignoring my detailed reports for years while you played in your shitty indie band. Enjoy the stalker bucks you've made off the smear campaign. Maybe you can buy a shiny new dildo and go fuck yourself with it. That's it for now. There's a lot more to come. Until next time, I'm Maddox.
I myself, in my history of dealing with crazy bitches, have run into one or two who will record your conversation.